Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mirror podcast. I'm your host, Kyle David. If you don't know, now you know. Um, Welcome back to another episode. I am wearing this jacket. If you're watching, if you're not watching and you're listening, I'm wearing a very comfy, very warm winter jacket here in Texas. We have been hit with the snowpocalypse once again. Second year in a row. We did not lose power. Thank God. Praise God. We did not lose power, but we got rocked with some cold, some ice, some snow. So yeah, I'm bundled up. So my sister, little story real quick. My sister, she's just good at things that I don't even think of. She found the gaps in the doors in our house, and she put bubble wrap over the gaps in the doors and then duct taped it so we could keep the cold air out and save ourselves some on an electric bill. And I think that's genius. I'm just gonna say that is genius. I would have never thought to do that. I was like, look, you just keep turning the heat up, and you got to fight the drafts that come in through the unsealed cracks in doorways and windows and whatnot. She said, no, you don't. You don't. You use bubble wrap, and then you block out the drafts. So come on, somebody. Shout out to my sister. Anyways, um, happy Saturday. I don't know when you're listening or watching, but right now for me, it's Saturday in Texas. Um, yeah, let's get into it. Today, I just want to talk about something that I was talking about with my team the other day at work, planning and executing. That wasn't specifically the talk I was having with them, but it was in the realm of some things we were reflecting on the last quarter. Our fiscal year just ended. We were reflecting on the last quarter, things that worked, things that didn't work. And something that I was sharing that worked is having an organized calendar. Um, and so for me, like I live and die by my calendar. Everything that's going to happen next week is going to be in the calendar before the week happens. So I know sometimes I'll just look, what am I doing on Monday? Well, I already know because I already planned it out. So having an organized calendar was a win for me. That's something that worked for me last year, last quarter. And just as a person, it's something that has continued to work for me. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it. Not the calendar aspect, that's just part of planning and executing. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I think planning and executing is so key. I remember growing up, my dad used to tell me, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail, right? No plan, you plan to fail. Not having a plan is a plan to fail, right? Or it's also some other sayings we could think of is right. What's another good one? Um, no plan. If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. If you aim at nothing, you're sure to hit it. That's one of my favorites. My dad used to say that all the time. I remember him, vividly remember him from the pulpit because he's a pastor, as you know, may know. If you don't know, now you do know. My dad is a pastor, and I remember him from the pulpit saying that so many times of if you aim at nothing, you're sure to hit it. And man, is that the truth. Man, is that the truth. If you aim at nothing, you're sure to hit it. Um, so you got to have a plan in life, and you have to execute the plan. Um, and in my own experience, here's the thing. I am glad that for most of my life, I've usually had a plan. I've always grown up. I've always been a thinker, a dreamer, a visionary, and so I always have plans. I have tons of plans. So my problem is figuring out which plan we're gonna tackle and how we're gonna execute that. But I think just for a lot of people, sometimes it's just like it's hard to like be like, how do I what's my plan? Like I think it comes down to small things. I think everything large starts with the small things, the small habits. So that's where I was talking about at the beginning. Excuse me. Having an organized calendar. That's my plan for the week. So you have to have different plans, right? Like I have a plan for this year, for the next few years, but I also have a plan for today. And I have a plan for tomorrow. And I have a plan for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, which will all then compound this year in 2022 into my plan for the year. And then what I do this year, the small daily habits that I have and the plans that I have daily this year will lead to results for the year, which will then lead to results for my plan of the next few years, which will then hopefully compound. Not hopefully, we don't like to say hopefully, it will compound and then produce results for my plan for my life. But it starts with having a plan today. It starts with me having podcast on the calendar this day, Saturday. Podcast is on my calendar. Let's pull it up. You know what? We're gonna test me, because you don't want to be just listening to some guy that talks about it but isn't really being about it. Okay, we're going to Saturday. Okay, I don't know if y'all can see this right here. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But it says record, edit, podcast. So guess what I'm doing right now? I'm recording the podcast. What if I didn't have it on my calendar and it wasn't part of my plan? I might not execute it, right? I might be like, oh man, I have some other things to do. Maybe I could do it tomorrow, Sunday. Maybe I could do it like next Monday evening, because since I usually release them on Wednesdays. But it's my plan. So I make a plan, and then it's easy to just execute on it, because I just do what I've already planned to do. So that's what I want to talk about. I think if this is something you're already excellent at, well, great. I mean, hopefully you just like hearing my voice and you'll stick around to hear me talk. But if this is something you struggle with, I get it. I've been there. There was a time in my life where I had a lot of plans, but I didn't know how to plan, if that makes sense. Had plans, didn't know how to plan. I didn't use a calendar. I didn't use a notebook or anything. So my plans stayed up here in my head, and it was hard to execute on them well. I was just throwing things at the wall. And then I had a leader when I was with the company back in my early 20s, and he said, Kyle, we want to promote you to run this business, but we are not going to do it until you start using a daily planner and calendar. Shout out to Juan Medina. Juan Medina was a great leader that I learned so much from, and he really helped shape my career and just who I am as a leader. But Juan Medina told me, before we promote you, before we give you this money and this title and this position, you have to start using a daily planner and a calendar. Because again, you are just throwing things at the wall and flailing around. You're kind of doing some of the right things, but you don't have a specific plan in front of you each day, each week, each month. And so people at a high level are looking for you to have the small things in place. And again, it comes back to like planning your days, planning your weeks. You only get so much time. Like, we all know this, but if you're not using that time effectively, it's really all for naught, right? You're not squeezing the most out of life if you're not planning your time. And I'm not saying don't rest. I know I struggle with that, and I'm trying to be better at resting. If you want to see, if you're watching, if you're listening, you're like, what's this guy talking about? Tomorrow on my calendar, we have rest, that big blue block. We have rest. So I put even rest on my calendar. My time is valuable, and I want to know what I'm doing with it. I'm not just going to wake up and be like, well, what are we doing today? Like, well, already a loss. You have to have a plan. When you have these plans, it's easy to execute it. When I look at my calendar tomorrow, it says rest. Great. Got it. But if my calendar was just open and there was nothing there, I might find some stuff to do. I might figure out something. And that's not a good use of the time. I need to rest. But if it's not on my calendar, it's probably not happening, because things will come up and things will happen. That's the problem with not having a plan for your time and for your life, is that things will come up and knock you off course. So you have to have a plan. It's just like if you're building a house, you have to have a plan, right? Before you go be like, hey, let's build this house. That's awesome. Like, if you want to build a house with your hands, that's amazing. I don't have that desire, but I know a lot of people want to do that, those type of things. Hey, let's go hike the Appalachian Trail. Shout out to Jeremy Bonet, my boss, who's done that. But he didn't just set out to be like, let's hike the Appalachian Trail. Here we go. No, he had a plan. He had to reverse engineer, like, what's that look like? What's that going to look like on a weekly basis, a day to day? What are the things that I need? He planned for it. So I would say here is, when you have like the more macro plan of like, what do you want? I want to build a business. You have to then reverse engineer down to the days and the hours of how you're going to do it. You have to set up a plan for your plan, if that makes sense. If you have a large plan or a vision, but you then have to plan how you're going to get there. Planning is everything. Now, execution is the second half of that, though. You can have all the best plans, but if you don't execute, also all for naught, right? Execution. But I do believe that when you set up a calendar, again, this episode is just going to really be about setting up your calendar. When you put things on the books in your planner, in your calendar, it's much easier to execute. You look at it and you know what you need to do. Then the only thing that's going to stop you from that is you just not doing it. But it's much harder to be like, what was I going to do today? What are the things? What's most important? Figure that out, write it down, put it on the calendar, and then execute on it, right? These are all just choices. Everything in life is just a choice. You want to do something big? That's great. Make the choice to do it. Then make the choice to plan. Then make the choice to execute on your plan, right? Everything in life is a choice. Almost everything. There are some uncontrollables in life, but even those things, the unexpected things in life, you have a choice even in how you react to them, which is another episode. And don't let me go down the rabbit hole of going on tangents. I want to stick to the plan. The plan is to record this podcast about planning and executing. It's not going to be much super long. I feel like I say that a lot. Like, it's not going to be super long, guys. And then 35 minutes later, I'm like, oh, time to wrap it up. So I don't know how long I've been talking, but this shouldn't take a long time. I just want to drop this tidbit because I was talking about it this week and I was thinking about it. And it's just so helpful for me too, because it takes a lot off your plate. It gives you more mental space when you take the ideas and the plans in your head and you make a plan physically in your Google Calendar, or if you use a physical calendar or planner. When you take all the things swirling in your head, the ideas of how you're going to make something happen, how you're going to attack your week, how you're going to build your business, how you're going to go about X, Y, or Z, or the dinner you want to have with a friend, or this or that. When you take it out of your head and put it down, it also gives you more peace. It provides more space in your head for other things because you have a plan. Once you have a plan, that also gives you some confidence. I want to dig in there. When I have a plan, it gives me more confidence because I now know, okay, now the next step is just to work the plan. Have a plan, work the plan. If you don't have a plan, it's hard to work towards what you want because then you're just figuring it out on the fly, which is if you can, figuring things out on the fly is not ideal. If you can have a plan, that is the most ideal. Like I'm going to today or tomorrow, probably today, I'm going to work on my plan for next week, my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the hours in the day, what I'm going to be doing. And then there's some gaps. I don't plan out every minute. I know some people are like plan out every 15 minutes. I don't think that's necessary for most. I'm not saying plan out every minute, but most hours in the day that need to be used have something there. And if there's some time in between things, and I might text a few people, I might use the restroom, I might do nothing. I might sit there for a minute and think about a few things, or go outside and see what the weather's like. But you need to be doing things and executing on plans because this thing is short, man. Like we are a blip in time, right? Like we have 80, 100 years maybe nowadays. And then we're just a blip in existence, right? The universe is vast. Time is vast. In the grand scheme of things, your life is boom, just a flash. So make it worthwhile. Make plans, execute on plans, do things in life. Do it with purpose, though. Part of having a plan is having a purpose, right? If you have a big dream, but you don't actually plan out how to get there, you're not very intentional. You don't really have purpose and belief behind that, probably, because otherwise you'd take the time to plan out how to get there. Again, it's harder to execute on things that you don't really have a clear plan on, right? Someone's like, I want to start a e-commerce store. Well, great. Like, what's your plan though? Like, how are you going to do that? You're just going to start attacking it and be like, well, I'll just start selling stuff. You're going to get lost in the sauce. You have to be like, okay, what does that look like? I did it last year, 2020. I started selling things on Amazon and I was selling my products on Etsy and Facebook Marketplace. And I've always sold things on eBay since I can remember. But I always have a plan, right? Like I was like, okay, I need to do this. I need to get some of these ads going. I need to put this store in place. I need to talk to the manufacturer to get the products to sell. Like there were steps I drew out of my plan, and then I did it. It was much easier to execute once I drew out my whole plan. And here's the thing, everything's not always going to go according to plan. But things are already not going to go according to plan. So the more plan you can have, the more in alignment with the plan you'll be able to have, even if some things knock you off course of the specific plan. So I feel like I'm gonna start repeating myself at this point. I'm happy to talk and keep circling around, but I think you guys get it. Hopefully this was helpful. This is not some deep, just real ethereal, talk here. Just something simple that I think is helpful. It's helped me, having an organized calendar, having a plan for things, for my days, for my weeks, for my year, for my life. Everything's not going to go according to my plan, but the more of a plan I have, the more likely I am to succeed at the plan when the plan is in place. Said plan about 6 times there. I hope you get it. So make a plan and then execute on it. It's as simple as that. You want anything in life, here's the formula. Plan it out, execute. Those are the steps to get where you want. You want a relationship? Make a plan. I'm going to go get out amongst people of the variety that I might like, and then execute on it. You want to start a business? Again, write out your business plan and then execute on it. You want to get in better shape? Write out your plan and then execute on it. Ideas are great. Nothing happens unless there's a plan, though. I want to say that again. Ideas are great, but nothing happens if there's no plan. So make a plan. You will see the results and you will be happy, and you'll feel a lot more at peace because it gives you confidence knowing I have a plan. I know what I need to do. Now I just need to do it. So that's what I got. Stay safe, stay warm, or stay cool. It depends on where you're at physically and your location. If you're in Texas, stay warm, stay well. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. This has been another episode of Inside the Mirror podcast. I'm Kyle David. Adios.